Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to learn how school budgets are assembled each year, the financial outlook for this upcoming school year, 2025-26, and how you can provide us with your feedback and input as we finalize the budget preparation process. I'm Kathy Ludwig, the Superintendent of West Linn-Wilsonville School District, and I'm proud to work and serve in this community. The responsibility of our school district finance team is to develop a sound and balanced budget of revenue and expenditures that fulfills federal and state financial mandates and meets the mission and goals of the school district. This webinar will review who sets the overall budget and approves it, how funding is connected to the mission and goals of the district, annual revenue sources, annual expenses, and the current reductions, possible funding increases for next year, and how you can provide input. Who sets the overall funding for a district and who approves it? School district budgets in Oregon are developed using the following process. Every 2 years, the governor proposes a 2-year budget for funding K-12 schools in Oregon. The State Ways and Means Committee approves the final amount. Using the amount allocated by the state, our school district finance team, in collaboration with school and district leaders, develops a budget proposal to bring before a district budget committee for review and approval. Once approved by the budget committee, it is then taken to the school board for adoption prior to June 30th. The public is invited to view the budget proposal, attend all budget committee meetings and provide comment, and attend all board meetings throughout the final adoption process. A school district budget committee is a statutory requirement. It is made up of the school board members and an equal number of voting members from that school district's community. These volunteer community members are appointed by the school board. West Linn-Wilsonville has a 5 school board member panel and 5 appointed community members that make up our budget committee. You can find their names listed on the district website. The first step our finance team takes to develop the budget is to roll forward the known information. That includes the upcoming revenue estimates from the state, the current staffing and purchase services expenditures and their annual increases, and any other known reductions or increases from the prior year's finalized audit or state reconciliations. The budget development process begins in January and goes before the budget committee in May. Fiscal changes from the state often continue well into the summer and even into the start of the new school year as estimates become finalized. Now let's look at how the school finance team collaborates with district and school leaders to align the district budget to the mission and goals of the school district. The West Linn-Wilsonville School District has a mission question that asks us to do our very best every day in discerning and creating strong learning communities for our students that foster the greatest thinking and most thoughtful people, not only for our community, but for the world. The mission question is further focused on 4 broad district goals. The goals guide our work and, importantly, help determine how we will invest our resources. The district's integrated plan takes the first 2 district goals that address student learning outcomes and identifies strategies and long-term growth targets for students. The integrated plan is approved biannually by the school board. From the integrated plan, school leaders create their own work plans with more detailed information about their own schools, academic data, and learning outcomes. Teachers make individual classroom and course goals based on their school's work plans. Together, goals and plans are aligned and nested throughout the system. The district integrated plan and each school's work plans are available on the website for the public to review. Our strategic investments help us meet the goals set by the district and each school. They also reflect annual feedback from our community about priorities for our schools and for our student learning outcomes. These investments are interconnected, providing access and opportunity for all students to experience school in a way that enhances their strengths and allows them to develop a growth mindset. Our task is to develop a budget that can sustain the quality of these interconnected investments over the long term. How will we know that our mission, our goals, and our investments are working? We examine the evidence, both quantitative through measurable results and qualitative from feedback. Student learning outcomes vary. They may be small increments of reading level success, or larger ones like completed pieces of writing or a final research project, or a semester grade for a course. Ultimately, we are working towards a rigorous and successful completion of a K-12 learning experience so that students are ready to move into their future career. Now let's move on to review how school districts receive their revenue each year. The majority of funds to Oregon school districts come from state and local sources. State funds, which is our largest revenue source, are collected through income taxes and lottery receipts. Local funds are permanent property taxes for schools and may include additional voter-approved taxes to fund either teachers or capital projects. Special state grants provide supplemental funds for specific priorities. Federal grants provide supplemental funds to states for specific programs like special education and support for students experiencing poverty. You will hear more about the state grants later in this presentation. The state school fund and the local funds work together as reciprocal funding sources to ensure an equalization model of revenue to school districts. Communities that collect more permanent property taxes for schools receive less in state school funds. Communities that collect less in permanent property taxes for schools receive more in state school funds. The state distributes funds to districts through an equity-based allocation. First, the average number of students who attend all year is calculated. This is called ADM. Then the number is adjusted or weighted based on additional resources or support that would be needed for groups of students. This is called ADMW. This weighted system is how equity is ensured across districts in Oregon, a system of funding based on students' needs and not just the number of students. Here's a glimpse of how our students are typically represented across the district. These percentages may fluctuate slightly during the year as students enroll or move. We track and report this demographic data to the state every year. As mentioned earlier, a supplemental revenue source in Oregon are specific state grants. These grants are distributed based on the number of students and their weighted needs, meaning these grants also follow an equity-based allocation method. The High School Success Grant helps fund strategies to increase graduation rates, decrease chronic absenteeism, and expand CTE course options. We use these funds to hire additional counselors, additional teachers to expand course options, ninth grade success, credit recovery, and middle school transition to high school. The Student Investment Account Grant provides additional revenue to Oregon schools to address mental and behavioral health needs and close achievement gaps. Based on feedback from our community, we prioritize these funds for additional counselors, social workers, nurses, teachers to reduce class size, special education staff, school psychologists, and expanding learning opportunities through our online academy. The Early Literacy Grant is designated towards purchasing literacy curriculum, professional development, and high-dosage tutoring and intervention for students not yet reading at grade level. Every school district may also supplement their revenue through a voter-approved local option levy. In November 2023, our community passed a revenue of the levy, which funds about 90 additional teachers and support staff in our schools. We are incredibly grateful to our communities for renewing this levy to maintain effective class sizes, provide additional learning specialists, arts and robotics programs, and STEM programs across our schools. A local community can also, through a vote by ballot, approve specific funding to a school district by passing a capital bond to assist with facility improvement projects. These bond funds are restricted to projects approved on the ballot by the voters. Full descriptions and progress of the 7 projects identified in our district's November 2019 capital bond can be found by going to the district website and clicking on the tab Capital Bond. Because a capital bond pays for high-cost facility repairs and renovations, the general fund is then able to preserve its funds for staff, programs, instruction, and daily operations. Without a capital bond, all facility expenses would compete with personnel expenses in the general fund. In other words, capital bonds help save teachers and programs. We are so grateful to our communities for capital bonds that have kept our schools updated, safe, and secure while preserving the general fund for instructional priorities. This general fund budget at a glance page in the budget document identifies the largest revenue sources to a school district. When the budget is adopted by June of each year, these numbers still reflect estimations and projections from the state. Changes do occur throughout the school year and are recorded in the working budget and provided to the school board at board meetings. This is why the adopted budget is always different from the actual budget conclusion that is audited at the end of every school year. Now let's review how school districts plan for expenses each year. This pie chart shows where annual expenditures typically fall. As you can see, almost 87% of our budget, and most school district budgets, go to personnel costs. The second largest area is allocated to purchase services, such as transportation, utilities, and other vendors. Very little of the budget, comparably, goes to supplies and materials. This is why when large reductions to public school district budgets are needed, communities will see reductions in staffing in order to make up the shortfall. When staffing programs and operations, a key priority with expenditures is maintaining effective class sizes. These are our current class size ranges for our district. Even with the reductions in the 2024-25 budget year, we were able to maintain almost all K-5 classrooms within these ranges. This general fund budget at a glance page in the budget document identifies the largest expenditures in school districts. Linn-Wilsonville is no exception. As a reminder, when the budget is adopted by June of each year, these numbers are still based on best estimates. Changes do occur throughout the school year, and the school board is informed at board meetings. This is why the adopted budget is different from the actual budget that is audited at the end of each school year. Lastly, we will share the funding outlook for Oregon schools, what it means for our district, and how you can provide input prior to the budget committee receiving the proposed budget on May 5th. The governor has proposed an $11.36 billion budget for K-12 schools for the 2025-27 biennium. While this is an increase from the last biennium, it is not adequate to maintain current service levels. Budgeting challenges for school districts persist, and many will be making reductions next year. What contributes to school districts' budget challenges? Well, similar to private industry, rising inflation affects gas prices, utilities, payroll, and benefits in public schools as well. These increased costs are outpacing the revenue increases from the state. Enrollment in K-12 public schools is also on a steady decline across the nation and in Oregon, and school districts are funded based on enrollment. Fewer students means less revenue. Fewer students and less revenue means staffing needs to reduce accordingly. The chart on the right demonstrates the decline in Oregon of over 35,000 students since the 2019-2020 school year. The largest decline occurred right in the middle of the pandemic, and Oregon continues to show decline. This table shows some of the Portland metro area school districts and the decline in their enrollment since 2018-19. Oregon's birth rate is also one of the nation's lowest and continues to decline, along with the country and the world. The decline of birth rates since the start of the pandemic and subsequent economic uncertainty is impacting schools with declining kindergarten cohorts entering school. A recent 10-year enrollment projection conducted by Flow Analytics, a leading population analyst company, provided the school district with 3 enrollment projection scenarios, starting with the year 2023-24. West Linn-Wilsonville is currently hovering just below the middle scenario. The middle scenario is being conservatively used to guide financial and long-range decisions for the district and school board. During the pandemic, an influx of emergency federal and state funds allowed districts to hire additional staff to support health, safety, and student needs. These funds have expired, and school districts must now reduce the extra staff back to pre-pandemic levels. The list on the right shows a number of school districts in Oregon and Washington that are making budget reductions due to federal funds expiring, as well as cost inflation that is outpacing revenue. Here are some examples of cost increases. While revenue from the state is increasing by 11%, costs are outpacing that increased percentage. And therefore, school districts are needing to reduce staff in order to maintain key programs and maintain a sustainable staffing level. The school district has been informing the school board, budget committee, district employees, and the school community of this fiscal outlook for several years. In 2023-24, messages were sent to the community informing about upcoming reductions that would need to be made. In 2023-24, the district made very modest reductions and drew down its reserves instead of making any more significant reductions. The following year, the district began to make more noticeable reductions. For the 2024-25 school year, $10 million in non-personnel and personnel reductions were made. Detailed messages to the school communities identified where the reductions would be made for the 2024-25 school year. There was hope that the 2025-27 biennium would be funded at a level that would take into account continued rising costs of inflation. Unfortunately, inadequate state funds for the new biennium, in combination with all the other factors described, require us and other school districts to make another significant reduction in order to present a balanced budget to the school board. This budget reduction message was sent to the staff and school community as early as January and is available on the district website. The budget reductions include non-personnel reductions, support staff reductions, and classroom staff reductions. A more detailed description of the reductions was sent to the school community on April 10th. There is still hope for additional revenue before the new school year that could impact budget revenue. Active advocacy by parents, teachers, school district leaders, and school board leaders have proposed several bills to increase special education funding and provide some PERS retirement rating relief. And yet, there is also concern that legislators could approve new bills for school districts to implement that have embedded costs without any additional funding. These are called unfunded mandates. So what are the next steps in the process? The rolling forward of projected revenue and expenditures for the 2025-26 budget identified the need to make significant reductions. To honor our staff's request for early notice, these reductions have already been made. Staff who were laid off are on a recall list for 2 years. On May 5th, the Budget Committee will receive the proposed budget and will have 2 weeks to review it carefully and bring forward questions to district staff. On May 19, the Budget Committee will deliberate in a public work session. In the meantime, we would like the community to provide input on priorities you would like the district and school board to make Should there be any increase in revenue between now and when the school year begins? For example, restore back more staff or retain a higher ending fund balance, etc. Please take a few moments between now and April 25th to fill out a survey, letting us know your preferences and priorities or general comments. Survey results will be included in the proposed budget document on May 5th to guide the Budget Committee's deliberation on May 19th. As mentioned, the Budget Committee work session and all board meetings are open to the public. Thank you for listening and learning about the school district budget process, the revenue and expenditures outlook for 2025-26, and how you can provide feedback. The survey can be found on the district website, and we look forward to hearing from our community. Thank you for listening, thank you for participating, and thank you for supporting our schools.